Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Other Prince William, a podcast that is produced by the Prince William Chamber of Commerce. I'm Bob Sweeney, the Chamber's president and CEO, and today we are here with my co-host, the mayor of Manassas, Michelle Davis Younger.
Hello. No introduction needed, right? You just said it. Thank you. I am Michelle Davis Younger. I am the mayor of the wonderful and beautiful city of Manassas, and I'm so excited to be here today. This is such a great time.
Today, joining us is Pete Evick, a literal rock star.
Yes.
I say that a lot. Like you're a rock star, but you are a rock star.
Yes.
So welcome,
Own
Pete.
it.
And thank you so much for being
Very
here.
kind of you guys. Very kind of you guys. Thank you very much. It's awesome to be here. It's awesome to be here with both of you guys and in our wonderful town. This is an honor.
It's great. Yeah. So share some insights with us on your journey as a musician, how you got started. You know, the questions people always ask you when they meet you. What made you do this?
My mom made me do this.
All right. Blame mom. Right? It's mom's fault.
My mother was actually a gigantic music fan. And she, there's a lot of folklore to my mother actually, is she used to go see Elvis Presley perform before Elvis was a star.
Wow.
And I don't know that they were ever super tight, but they knew. My mom had met him a few times, and
Cool.
And when I was 5 years old, my mom put a guitar in my hand, and I had no interest at all. And that was I was born in 1972. I'm 51 years old, and then a few years later, maybe 1 year later, 72. Yes, so in 78, I saw a commercial on TV for the band Kiss.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that made sense to me.
Oh, yeah.
As a kid, because they look like superheroes. They look like cartoons.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I went, I got the guitar in the closet. And everything changed that
Wow.
moment.
I can be Ace Frehley.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the ironic thing that you bring his name up is that one of the greatest things later in life in my journey is my heroes become my friends. I speak with Ace all the time.
Oh, my
And so
God.
it's funny that you say it.
Oh, that's my hero, though. I love it.
Oh,
But so my mom wanted me to play guitar.
That
I had
is
no
so
interest.
cool.
I saw Kiss. And once I saw Kiss, there was nothing else.
There's nothing else.
Until Shining Soul.
Okay, we'll get to that.
But my entire life, no sports, no hobbies, no nothing.
Wow.
From 5 years on until my 40s, it was just guitar all day, every day.
That's
no matter
awesome.
what, and that's how it happened.
So what everybody wants to know. I'm sorry, Bob.
No, but I was just going to think of that Michael Jordan quote that says you got to do 10,000 hours of something you love to be the best at what you are.
It's funny.
And you're up to like 80,000.
In my world, that's a quote from David Lee Roth.
Oh,
David claims that's his thing.
Oh, yeah.
David has been saying for years that 10,000. You have to put 10,000 hours into whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
I would think I have.
You
I
have.
would think
Plus,
I've never counted, but you would think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you probably have.
I imagine you have too. And
no, this is about you now. So the question everybody wants to know: how did the collaboration with Bret Michaels? What made that happen? You gotta share that for people who don't know.
I was a gigantic Poison fan in the 80s. Gigantic. And in 1992, their guitar player, C.C. DeVille, left the band. And I had some contacts, even though I wasn't even 20 years old then, I had some contacts that knew the people in LA, and I was able to send in audition tapes.
Wow.
And because Poison's from Pennsylvania, even though they're considered a LA band, moved to LA to make it, they're from Pennsylvania. And we knew, Bret grew up 85 miles from right here.
Wow.
In Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
I knew that.
Sometimes when he's here, we'll drive up and visit his stepmother. His father recently passed away, and it's literally 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours of traffic. So we had a connection just from the coast, just the Mid-Atlantic. We're all, whether you're Virginia, Maryland, or Pennsylvania, or Delaware, we're all similar. And so I didn't make the audition because I was too young, and they by that time the LA scene was so big and prominent on MTV and the radio that they needed a hotshot LA guitar player. I mean, thousands of people auditioned.
I'm sure.
So it wasn't like I was second in the running.
Right.
But I kept those contacts, and years later, 23 years ago, Bret went out on a solo tour with that Poison. And I called those people and got my band to be the opening band. And we played up and down the East Coast with Bret. And we did that for 2 years with him. And me and him got to be better friends. And then an opportunity came. This is one of my favorite stories still to this day. An opportunity came where he had a gig in Detroit at this thing called the Downtown Hoedown. It's a radio station gig. And he didn't want to bring his guys in from LA to do it. Something happened. And he just called me. He goes, "Do you think your band could do this gig with us?" And he said, "Oh, it's a little radio gig."
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've done little radio gigs with DC 101.
Right.
I've done little radio gigs with 98 Rock. Yeah. Little radio gigs for the local band is going into the radio station and playing for like 20 people.
Right.
This was 15,000 people.
Wow.
And I never asked the right questions. I never asked. I just said, yes, let's go do it. And I show up that day.
You're like, oh.
Yeah. It's 15,000 people.
Wow.
And we didn't rehearse. And I blame that a little on Bret because he's the pro, and a little bit on me because we'd known each other from the 2 years of touring together, and he knew that we knew all the material. But what happens in the music business that most people don't realize, if you like your favorite artist and you go see them in concert and you don't realize, oh, that doesn't sound the way it used to. Songs evolve, right? Even when you think you're playing them the same over 20, 30 years, they evolve. So we learned those songs as they were on the records 30 years ago, but he never really thought much about how different he does them. So we didn't rehearse, and it wasn't great.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. And I remember thinking, oh man, that was it. That was my biggest chance. And I was getting older in life, and my opportunity's gone. He's going to go tell everyone.
You saw it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't true.
Yeah. And then he called me a couple days after that, and he said, "How do you think that went?" I said, "Man, that was terrible. It sucks. I'm so sorry." And he says, "Well, we're on the same page. I'm glad that you're professional enough to know that that wasn't great." He goes, and then we talked about not rehearsing or whatever. And then he says, "Let's try this one more time." And he goes, "It's Memorial Day weekend." And he goes, "I got a gig in Nashville, Tennessee, opening up for Leonard Skinner. Sold out, 33,000 people at a place called Starwood Amphitheater." And we go down there, and again, no rehearsal. But he looked at me and he goes, "Don't think about anything. Just go out there and be the you that I know. Don't be the you want me to be. You think that I want you to be."
So
and we played, and it's the last song, High Five, and I'm entering in May. It'll be 21 years.
Look at you.
Wow.
I love it. I love it.
And we've been all around the world.
So
We've had,
awesome.
He had the reality TV show Rock of Love, which was a giant hit. Me and him wrote the theme song to that. Spent 14 weeks at #1 on the VH1 Countdown. There was 3 other videos we'd done over the years that went to #1. CMT, we released a couple country songs, and CMT, WMZQ actually broke the song. They were the first in the country to play it, and which is a local country radio station here. We played all over the world. We played in Saddam Hussein's palace.
Wow. So you could say that.
Yeah, that was great.
That's pretty awesome.
And it's been a wonderful ride.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you are a writer as well as a guitar player and backup singer, right? I've heard that. And what is your creative process like when you get into writing a song? How does that come? Yeah, how does that happen?
Well, because I'm a guitar player and a writer and a singer, and a piano player sometimes.
Wow.
You find different inspiration in different ways. If I'm sitting at a piano and I'll bang something out, it's usually a ballad. I'm never going to write some ragtime.
Yeah.
That's not the way I play the piano.
Beth, I hear you.
To me, it usually starts with a lyric. Usually I get inspired to write about something.
Okay.
And then from there I'll try to write a chorus or write a concept, and then I'll grab a guitar and start banging out ideas and see if that fits the lyric. When I was younger, it was much faster. I could write a song a day.
Yeah.
And then inspiration dries up. You know, on the way here, I was actually, there's these moments, and I think it happens probably with everything, inspiration, no matter what you do. You know you want to be inspired. You know you should write. You know you should do whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
And some days you just don't have it in you.
Right.
But when it hits,
Ooh,
you gotta go.
watch out.
It's a flood. Yeah.
And you can ask any songwriter in the world, a lot of times you wake up in the middle of the night with that idea, and you better get your ass out of bed
Yeah.
and
Write it
figure
down.
out a way to
Get it
write that
down.
idea.
That's
You know?
right.
And for a long time, I tried to convince myself. I said, no. If it's any good, I'll remember it when I wake up in the morning.
At 20,
Yeah.
50, no.
Yeah, no. If you have an idea, you attack it, you pull your car over.
Right.
In the before the digital world, every songwriter or guitar player in the world had one of those little micro cassette recorders in their car. And if you guys could think back a million times that you may have seen someone pull over on the side of the road, they may have been an artist having an idea. They might not have had cartridge.
Right.
It's so funny you say this is kind of my mind explosion because I think about foreigners, where English is a second language, and I think about how they think sometimes, just like you're a guitarist, and so I always wondered in musicians' mindscape. Is it the guitar that's first? Like, is it the melody or the beat and then the lyric? Or is it
it comes both ways.
Yeah.
For me, like I said, mostly the lyrics, but if I'm sitting around just with my guitar in my hand and a riff comes out, then you go straight to the studio and record the thing right away.
What is essential as a guitarist, literally one of the greatest guitarists in the world? What is your thinking about the essential equipment you need to have to be great?
That's an interesting story. That inspires me to tell a story that I would like to tell about beginning playing. When I was a kid, and we got into the guitar, and I had that acoustic guitar that I was telling you about. My friend also had a guitar, a cheap junk acoustic guitar. And when my dad realized that this was happening, he went out and bought me a real Gibson Les Paul. I was a young kid with a Gibson Les Paul, but it was exactly like Ace Frehley's.
Yeah.
And it was a real thing, and it inspired me every day to play that thing, right? But my friend who had that junk guitar didn't want anything to do with it. And so for years and years and years, I taught at all the local music stores, and I would tell the parents, invest in a real instrument. That whole buy a cheap thing to begin on can backfire on you. Because they're harder to play. They're not as nice.
Right.
You have the real thing in your hand and you like the instrument you play. It's like driving a car. If you like your car, you want to get it in drive.
All the time.
Right. And but the essentials to this day, I still, whether I'm playing in Sinistral or I'm out in front of 30 or 40,000 people, I still very basic head and amp cabinet. You don't need a lot. It depends. There's there's so much. It's art. And some people use a brush, some people use a spray can, but I am still plug and play. I don't use a ton of effects. And I just try to keep it like Slash from Guns N' Roses. I try to keep it kind of as raw as possible.
But we know, we talked about, your journey, Bret Michaels and all that. So there are highs and lows. What are some of the challenges being on the road, performing live? There's highlights and there's challenges.
So there is. And if I can plug this, I just recently released my second book. It's a book called MTV Famous.
Okay.
And I tell a lot of the stories that the question you're asking in this book.
Oh, good.
But I can tell you that the highs and lows, it's like being bipolar because the highs are unbelievable.
Oh yeah, and then you come.
But the lows are dark
After it's over.
And I'll give you an example of the lowest of the low. And this is going to be kind of a long story. I'll try to shorten it. But for me, the lowest of the low was me and my wife had broken up, and me and Bret had become inseparable best friends. But the two other guys in the band are my guys from here in Manassas that I've been together with for over 36 years, right? Yeah. And as me and Bret's relationship tightened, theirs did not. So my wife and me had broken up. Two best friends had grown distant. It was to the point where me and Bret were riding in one bus and they were riding in another bus. But me and Bret were riding in the one bus together specifically because I'd become an integral part of doing business, the corporation, for Bret Michaels, and we were writing music together.
Sure.
So we had a studio set up in one bus, and we went on that bus, and the band and crew on another bus. So Bret, in 1988, had a #1 song with Every Rose Has Its Thorn, and in the 80s, if you had number one song, that meant you sold millions of records. Today, that
Not
doesn't
like
mean
now,
that
right?
doesn't mean the same, right? And so it was a very lonely time in my life. And me and Bret had just written and recorded a song called "Nothing to Lose," and Miley Cyrus sang on it. And the day that it debuted, at that time, that day, it became the number one played song on radio, and it had beat out Bon Jovi and Nickelback, which are two huge bands who had released songs that same day too. And I'm a gigantic Bon Jovi fan. And in my brain, it wasn't competition. It was like, I did something that the world likes better than Bon Jovi today. You know what I'm saying? Right. Now, I know Miley Cyrus is on it, so that helped a lot. But also right at the peak of Hannah Montana and her becoming, So my point of that was, the bus had pulled up, it was a winter day in Iowa, in Dubuque, Iowa. And I was so excited that I woke Bret up. But it's the most played song on radio. Well, all the news, he was excited. Oh, that's great. That's great. How many copies did it sell? And I don't want to discuss the number. It was number one. That's all that matters.
Okay.
But the number was not what Every Rose's number was. Right? And what I relate this emotion to, even though I'm not a sport guy, the best way I can paint this picture is you got someone like Bret who won the Super Bowl 5 times in his life with 5 number 1 hit songs, right? And then the game changes, and now the field's 50 yards instead of 100 yards. Winning that doesn't feel the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's great analogy. Yeah.
And so he was like, oh, all right, great. And he went back to bed.
I'm done.
And there I am in this winter morning in Dubuque. And Dubuque, Iowa was cold.
Yeah.
And my wife doesn't give a shit. My 2 friends could care less. And Bret didn't really care the way I did. And I literally just dropped to my knees on the bus and started crying because it was the greatest moment of my entire life. And it was the single most loneliest moment I'd ever had.
Wow.
And you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You get that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a terrible feeling, right?
I think all terrible stories start in Dubuque, though. I know. And so that was the lowest of them.
Yeah.
The highest of the highs.
Yeah.
Like I said a few minutes ago, when Saddam had Saddam had been captured, but he hadn't been executed yet. That's a terrible I'm trying to paint the timeline. But the war was still going on, and we were invited to perform for the troops, like the USO type of thing. And Bret had said, if we're going to go, Bret and me share a very similar, our parents were military, but we didn't go to the military. And I have a regret for that because I'm a huge military supporter. It's not a politics thing. It's a support for the people who defend our country. And I think both of us feel this kind of guilt that we maybe were wimps and didn't do that. You know what I mean? And so when the opportunity came to go, he was going. And he said, if I'm going to go over, we're not just going to go to Baghdad and protect it by everything. I want to go to the bases. I want to go to the forward operating bases. I don't know if you know much about any of this place, but there's a place called Al-Assad, Anaconda, Stryker, and these were real, the war was happening.
Yeah.
I have a picture on my phone where we were playing and the sirens went off. And we had to go down in the underground bunker, right? And I look at this picture sometimes, and I'm sitting up against this wall. Looks like this, because it's just plywood underground. And I have my guitar on my lap, and my eyes are closed. And in all honesty, I'm waiting to die. I've come to peace with this. And Bret's over here waiting to die. And the other bands, they were, right? Because the sirens going on. But we brought with us a Rolling Stone photographer.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And that guy didn't care. He was getting those pictures because if we live through this and he gets to cover Rolling Stone, and I remember thinking, this guy's nuts because but he didn't care. He was getting these pictures and he got some amazing pictures. But we went over there and we played to those troops and they were so grateful. And then to go and play in Saddam's opera house. I don't know if you know much about what he had, but that guy lived in a fantasy.
Yeah.
He had an entire real life Flintstones village built for his children. Like you can live anyway. But just the American flag was flying, and there was maybe 600 or 700 American troops, and we were performing for them in a moment where history was changing. You know what I'm saying?
So amazing.
And that was amazing to me. That was an incredible high.
That's in the book, right?
Oh yeah.
Gotta get the book. Gotta get the book.
And there's a lot of highs. The first time I ever played Jiffy Lube, you wait your whole life. But I will tell you this: it's Nissan Pavilion. Is what it was always called.
Yeah.
And the year I played it was the year they changed it. And I waited my whole life
To play
Nissan, and I'm saying Jiffy Lube.
Yeah.
But to do that, those amphitheaters in your hometown,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
that's an unreal
Hometown
experience.
hero.
Yeah, you know.
Definitely you are.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But the highs do outweigh the lows.
Oh, always.
You know,
always.
but the lows are dark.
We have a common history that you do not know. I was hired on November 10th was my first day on the job. And Patrick Small, the Director of Economic Development for the City of Manassas, had a secret that he was keeping for everybody. And it was that you were playing at Sinistral, and Bret Michaels was going to show up.
Secret, yeah.
And,
Michaels come, don't tell anybody.
All of a sudden he says, let's go. So he gets me over there. We go backstage. Amazing. I meet you. I've got pictures of my first day of work with you and Bret Michaels on my phone.
That was your
first day. I was like, oh my God, it can only go. Yeah.
You know, I was amazed at that because it made CNN.
Yeah, it was there was 500 people there, or maybe more.
But we do a lot of things that don't make sense.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting day because we played in North Carolina the night before. I think Cherokee. I may be wrong about that. Somewhere in that area. And we were driving up, and Bret decided he was going to come home with me instead of fly home, work on music, whatever we're going to do. And sometimes he's aloof to anything anyone else might be doing. And so he's like, I was like, Bret, you can come, but we're going to have to work Sunday because I have a gig at Central tonight.
Right.
I said, you stay at the house, whatever you want to do. Well, maybe I'll come, which is very rare because he is reckless. He's a true reckless.
Day offs are important. You need to recollect.
Yeah. And I said, all right, well, I'll call and I'll get you a section set up and I'll make sure. All right. Well, don't tell anyone. And then in the course of driving from Cherokee or Charlotte to here, he goes, well, maybe start telling people I might come. I said, you got to tell me. You have to tell me yes or no on this.
Right.
Because if I tell everyone,
they're coming.
You have to come.
Yeah.
He goes, all right, yeah, I'll do it. I'll come up and he goes, I'll come in and I'll play 2 songs. And we had it all arranged with my friends. Were you there when he got there?
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, the kid.
So we brought him in the back. And my friend Rick brought him in, and he was supposed to come to that back, play 2 songs, and get out that back door. But I didn't read very well.
Yeah, you do. Let's go leave.
He started having a good time.
Yeah.
And we stayed, and he stayed up on that stage and goofed off and played with us. Then I get nervous because I like when I lose sight of him, it's not like he's a child. He's a grown man, but
feel responsible.
Yeah.
You're the reason why he's there.
Where did he go? And I went running everywhere, and I found him in the back. Were you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, it was Patrick and you and Blaine.
Yeah, Blaine.
All had him in the office, and he had a great time.
Oh, that's so awesome.
But the most interesting thing to me about that was when I built this store, when me and Darren and Sarah built the store, I found a sense of community that I didn't really know existed down here. I've been here all my life, but I didn't, until you have something like this, you don't understand. You get it. You get it.
So that is actually going to be my question. And I wanted that. The reason I talk about Sinistral is because it was because you were family. Yeah, everybody showed up. Bret Michaels was awesome and stuff, but it was Pete Evick coming back.
But my point to this was the next day, the Tone that owned Papa Monkey, which I'm still bitter that he sold the place. I hope it's doing great.
He's doing good.
I know. He lets us know how good he's doing.
I know. The pictures on Facebook. Dude, really?
But me and him had been friends since the day that he moved in over there. Not super tight friends, but we laugh, we get along, and we share a lot of similar beliefs. And he wrote me this heartfelt text. And he's never been heartfelt about thank you for what you do for this community and thank you for what you did for Blaine. It never occurred to me that I did anything. But then all the different business owners, Chris Sellers, everybody was writing me these things. And like I get serious. I told this right now.
It's great.
But I didn't realize how. I didn't realize how important that stuff was, and that fueled me to do more.
Yeah.
Like when I realized what we are down here.
Yep.
Now my entire focus in life has changed because of what happened that night at Sinister. Wow. Not because Bret showed up, but because what I saw our community.
The community.
Yeah. I'm seriously
I love it. That's why I love it.
So like I don't know if you guys have seen since then. My main guitar that I play. Have you seen this?
No.
My main guitar that I play all over the world. I had a photographer friend of mine go out on 95 and take a picture of the Manassas exit. And they painted that on the guitar. I had it in the back here because I had it shipped at the end of the year. And like we just did CMT, the Country Music Channel Crossroads thing.
Yeah.
The Crossroads special. We taped that. It was Bret and a country artist called Chris Jansen. Crossroads is a thing where a rock guy and a country guy, we all get together and we play each other's songs.
Oh, that's cool.
And I went to the film crew and I said, more important than me is this guitar. Get as many shots of this guitar. And it's been airing all for the last month. And there is like it's an hour-long special. And there's probably 15 shots on the camera for the entire TV, and it's just
that's so cool.
And when we were in the editing room, one of the girls that is like high up at CMT, she was like, "Your guitar, that's a town in Virginia. You come up 95, isn't it?" I answer all the time. And then we played. I already had a guitar. And we played in South Carolina this year. Early in the year, there's a place called. It's a festival. It's another country music festival called the Barefoot Music Festival. 65,000 people jam-packed. And they had these gigantic screens. You know, when crowds are that big, you ever go to one of those concerts?
I love that.
It's as big as a skyscraper. And I have a couple pictures of my guitar on that screen. And people, a lot of people travel to that festival every year. And all day long, probably till midnight that night, people were finding me. I'm from Manassas. I was in Manassas. So now I take a lot of pride that I take a piece of Manassas with me every night on every stage I play.
That's awesome.
Wow, that is beautiful.
I love it. Oh my gosh. That is so awesome.
Yes. So you talked a lot about the how to get to number one. That has changed over the years. It used to be 1 million records were sold. Now, if you're number one, I don't know what it is. But are there other things that have changed or evolved in the music industry over the last 30 years that you've been playing?
Yeah. A lot of things that I could go on and on about.
46 years you've been playing, sorry.
I'm at a unique age. And because I started so young, I'm connected to people that are older than me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know the old school business way more than most people my age. I'm about 10 years ahead because of how young I started with my way of thinking and the business. But I'm also young. I love technology. It's already been almost 40 years since the digital thing came out, the MP3s came out that changed. And everyone still talks like that's brand new.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been at least 35 years since that hit the market, and there's still people from the 80s are like, the digital thing ruined the music business. I'm like, you got to quit talking about that because we're in the new way.
Right.
But I embraced it. I remember the first time I emailed a song or something.
You're like,
oh my gosh.
And I went, this changes everything. I can get my music to anyone that will hear it. I don't need labels. I don't need managers. I don't need anything. And I embraced that. And so,
that is so cool.
So the way the industry works now is it's in your hands. It is in the artist's hands. A good song finds its way.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, all these people that are sitting around going, I should have been a millionaire because of my great song. No, your song sucks. Because if the song's good,
It's going to find its way.
It finds its way.
Yeah.
All
Beautiful.
it takes is one person. If I play a song for you and you love it,
Oh,
enough,
that's it.
you're going to go tell everyone you
That's
know.
right.
And you're going to tell it just takes one person.
Yeah.
And then viral, the word viral, which is new to the world. But, but music's like that. And
wow.
it just doesn't, it doesn't, my book, it's the same things in the book industry. My book debuted at #1 on rock and roll autobiographies on Amazon, right? And I had a little bit of a Bret moment. I was like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing in the world. How many copies did it sell? Like 600.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
600.
Yeah. But it was #1 for a couple of days.
The title.
You can't ever take that away.
Right.
And that's the important part about life as I get older. Yeah. As I get older, the one thing I learned, because in the music business, I remember the day I played Jiffy Lube. We're talking about it. I remember, I had my children. Me and my wife hadn't broke up yet. Family was important. And I remember thinking, all right, I'm going to play Jiffy Lube. And I'm going to tell Bret I'm done. Because you can't ever take that away from me. For the rest of my life, I can tell everyone that I play Jiffy Lube. But then you wake up the next morning.
Oh, God.
And you go, oh, no. What can I do to beat that now?
Yeah.
And what's my point of that? I can't remember. You asked me a question that inspired me about that. Just about being #1 and stuff.
Yeah. What's changed in the industry?
Right. Because social media.
We
talking about the social media effect and how do you've kept up with it.
I keep up with it. I suck at it, but
you have the right attitude, though. You didn't.
You don't suck at it.
With it, and you encourage other people to do that too. You have to embrace it.
I try to embrace. My son's pursuing a music career, and he hates social media. I'm like, Gavin, this isn't happening for you.
Gotta get it.
If you don't get it, I'm like, you got to post like I'm playing here. Oh, that's all you're ever gonna get. Like, oh my God.
But you're kind of the same, except over the holidays, you got sappy and you said you never do that. I don't get sappy on social media. You didn't say those exact words, but you say I don't usually do this. But you wrote a beautiful 3-paragraph Facebook post about your son meeting an old friend of yours in New York.
Oh, well, the guy wasn't an old friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
He's Doc McGee. Doc McGee is music manager in his.
Okay, cool.
So you got to meet him.
You're very proud.
What I was proud of was my son drove all the way to Madison Square Garden by himself to see the Last Kiss concert.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I love it.
That's cool.
And he went up there, and instead of partying, instead of getting into mischief, he managed to find the most important guy in the entire music industry. And I was proud of that.
Yeah, that's really cool. It was a beautiful story.
Awesome.
I loved it.
That is awesome.
So I don't want to leave this setting until we hear the story of Shining Soul.
Yes.
Like why Shining Soul? Why are you a candle maker? How did this happen?
So this comes from that low point. It all ties in. So that low point had happened that we talked about. Mm-hmm. And we had been filming, I think, the last season of Rock of Love. I'm not a TV guy. Bret loves to be on TV. I don't give a shit about TV. And those cameras, when you're filming a reality show, those cameras are in your face 24/7.
Yep.
I'm not the star. I'm not even an actual person on that show. Unless I do something that's going to get them ratings.
Right, of course. Throw a bottle. Yeah. Throw a high.
Well, it's funny. The very first season of Rock of Love, the biggest thing that happened that was one of the most played episodes is I got drunk and threw a bottle at the wall.
There you go. I said it. I threw a bottle.
And they edited it like I threw it at one of the girls.
Oh.
Right?
How helpful
we all laugh about that.
Yeah.
But we've been out on the road for 9 months because this season of Rock of Love was called Rock of Love Bus. And I don't know if you know, Rock of Love was a dating show. It's just like The Bachelor, but it was with Bret. And the first 2 seasons were filmed in a house, just like The Bachelor.
Okay. Oh, wow.
The third season was out on the road. The girls got their own tour bus, and they went with us on the road every day. And so the cameras were around me all the time. Yeah. From the second you woke up to you went to bed. And again, I'm not the star of the show. I'm not even in the show unless I do something worthy. But they're waiting for me.
Yeah. They got to watch you.
And it twisted me. It twisted me to a dark space. Yeah. And me and my wife had broken up.
Yeah.
And in the darkness of my friends, all that stuff I told you about. And I came home, and my wife had moved out of the house, and my house was empty.
Wow.
And I was always been a candle guy.
Yeah.
And a couple of friends of mine had bought, or one friend of mine had bought me a candle that was supposed to smell like a wood burning fireplace. And I was sitting in my home, completely alone, in the dark.
Wow.
And for the first time in my entire life, remember I told you I never wanted to, every day of my life, guitar.
Yeah.
When I got home after that season of Rock Love, I didn't want to look at guitar. I'd never felt that in my life. It felt weird. I felt like I didn't have a leg and I just didn't know what to do. And I lit that candle complete dark. And it didn't smell up my whole house.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what they're supposed to do, right? And I just thought, man, I wonder, I've never had a hobby in my life. I'm really into candles. I wonder if I could just figure out how to make one of these.
Oh my God.
We were doing good. We were having fun. We were selling candles. And one day she came in, she goes, you got to tell people it's you. I said, no, let's not do that. She goes, you have to tell people this is you. It's the only way we're going to move this to a different way. And she convinced me. And one night we made a video in my kitchen. I said, this is my company. Because all along I've been like, this is my friend Sarah's company. Buy these candles. I've been endorsing it, but not mine. And I announced it, and the sales went through the roof that night. Everything changed that night.
That's a great story.
Amazing.
And then my website got out of control.
Yeah.
And that's when Darren came in. Darren and me had been friends since Cub Scouts.
Yeah.
That's what he told me.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've known each other since Cub Scouts.
So cool.
But he is a brilliant web designer, is what he is.
Wow.
More than any of this, and that's what I needed, right? So he built the website, and we decided to be partners. And at the time, there was a shop through this wall called Love Charlie, and she also owned this shop. But she had two businesses. Love Charlie was her baby, and whatever she was doing in this, her partner, it all went bad. And the guy that owns this building said, if you can find someone to take it over, no harm, no foul. And she just called me because she'd been selling my candles. She's like, you ever think you might want a candle shop? And me and Darren had just partnered together in this. And it was never supposed to be that because the world's e-commerce.
Yeah.
So in my brain, I was like, this is kind of going backwards.
Right.
So, but everything just kept telling us it was the right thing to do. Like, we were looking for reasons not to. Not in a bad way.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we were like, there's no reason not to do this. And so we built a store and opened it up. And here we are, you know. But the big part of the drive for me was
the kids.
The kids and the helping other American businesses.
Yeah.
You know, the wood wicks that we use are made in Indiana, or Illinois, I'm sorry. And every single part of that, the Libby glass, the wood, every single part of that's an American product. Maybe the labels are made somewhere else. I've never sourced that out. Yeah. But every single part of that's an American product, and that's important to me.
It is.
You know, and I don't know if that's a small, old school way of thinking. I'm not, you know, I'm not.
It's heart. It's your heart.
Yeah.
And it's what you want to be known for.
Yeah.
You cared about your country.
Yeah.
Promoting and helping other people.
But also, it's funny, I say that and watching and hearing your voice so kindly say that. I understand you understand. I understand you understand, and that makes me think that I did the right thing. But I also believe in the whole world. So as much as I care about my country, I'm not like, screw Japan or screw China. I wish we could find a way.
It takes everybody.
For it to,
it takes everybody.
You know, but China's thriving, so I'm not too worried about that. Right. But we're not. So at that time, you know what I'm saying?
Farmer needs you. Right. Yeah.
So
you have a heart for it.
So that's what this became all about.
That is so amazing.
You know?
Wow.
I'm just happy you got Darren into this podcast.
I know.
Somehow, you know.
Yes, he is the man.
You have to, and he's got a new shop in downtown Manassas as well, black metal.
Yeah.
So I think
I always tell the story. I'm as honest as a day is long.
Yeah.
He's so happy over there, and that thing is a success. People love it. I told him when it started, I was like, the idea is great. That name's the worst name you've ever.
I'm like mercantile. Yeah. I don't know. We've been going. I don't know. It's here.
I'm like, why don't you just call it Manassas Mercantile? Why would you do that? But the name's very important to him. It ties into his love for music and some different things.
It works for him.
But I remember going, Darren, the idea is great. The shop's gonna be successful. The name is terrible. And,
he's doing fine.
But he's doing great. He's killing it. Great. And he's happy because he joined this business because he likes business.
Yeah.
But he's not incredibly passionate about candles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you walk in that store over there, that's a journey inside his head. Everything's scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
there.
and so he's living in his own head over there right
That's
now.
great.
And
Works for him.
It's so great for him.
That's
so
awesome.
Great. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, but he's still 100% over here too. He's still involved in everything over here.
So, last before we wrap up, your inspirational words. Give me a few inspirational words for a kid, somebody who's looking to do what you've done.
Oh, geez.
How would you inspire them?
Thank you for asking me that.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, and I say this a lot on Facebook, that's all that's important to me now, is inspiring other people.
Yeah.
Everything I do from this point is to encourage other people to believe that they can do anything they want. And I say it all the time. Anybody can do anything. And when I write a book, and I have the new hot sauce company, the Virginia Sauce and Spice Company with Clark, and all the music things I do, and I have several other projects that I'm doing. And everything I do is to prove to anyone that anyone can do anything. You just do it and believe in yourself.
That's right.
This comes from Bret, but I believe it is the biggest rule is bet on yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, who else is going to?
That's right.
That's a great line. I love
Perfect
that.
way to wrap it up. Oh my gosh. Thank
bet on
you so much.
Yeah,
And that is a wrap.
Do I get this or do I get a fist bump? What do we do?
I never hug her.
Let's do that too.
That is definitely a wrap. Thank you for joining us on the other Prince William. We're so
The other
happy.
Prince William's great, buddy.
I love it.
The other one wants to be king someday, but we've got our own greatness right here.
That's right.
And
We're
so,
gonna
thank you, Pete.
Thank you guys for having me.
Great wrap up. And everybody, remember to support your local businesses, your entrepreneurs, and your artists.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today for our discussion. Be sure to check out the note caption and learn more about today's guest and more about their work. Please be sure to check out our sponsor. This is a great way to support our podcast and the work we continue to do discussing business in the greater Prince William County, Virginia region. If you have suggestions, topics, or questions to discuss with the team, please be sure to add your comments in the videos on our YouTube page. We read your comments and value your feedback. If you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to subscribe now and stay updated on all the upcoming guests and announcements. Again, thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you more inspirational stories from local business owners, creators, and entrepreneurs from the amazing business community here in our area.